Greetings, my name is Tim Johnson. This is Recovery, Strength, Hope and Courage. This is the third in a selection of videos I'm doing about sobriety essentials, things that I've learned over the past year or so that have really strengthened my sobriety, and I believe some that are essential to maintaining and again strengthening sobriety. And I want to talk today about community and support, which I feel is absolutely essential to sobriety, and certainly long-term sobriety. And I'll give you the reasons for that in a second, and it's quite pertinent at the moment because in some of the groups that I'm in, there are people leaving at the moment feeling that they can maintain their sobriety. People with long-term sobriety, this is, that feel that they don't need the support of the groups and they want to move on, which is fine, that's their decision. But I want to tell you today why I think that it's important to maintain that contact, whatever contact you decide that needs to be. And I want to, at the end of this video, I want to share with you a tip as well, because I believe with all these essentials there are three things which I've made a video about. So have a look back at my other videos if you find these useful, and to subscribe and like them if you do find them useful, because more people will see them that way. Basically, these three things which I think are essential for the essentials, if you like, are commitment, obviously, self-discipline, and consistency. Three, it takes me a second to say those words, but they're absolutely massive within recovery. And we don't like doing things which are uncomfortable, and self-discipline is about facing, and getting up and doing the things that you don't want to do, basically. And because that it's doing the things that that are good for you but don't feel nice to do, if you like, and or uncomfortable to do, whether that be facing emotions, fears, or physical uncomfortableness, or whatever it is, diet, exercise. But I'll give you a tip on that at the end of this video. Today, community and support, it's extremely important. And as I said in the last video about wanting to change, it's first of all having an awareness that you need to change. That's the first thing that comes into your head. And then you have to have an acceptance, knowing that you have to change for whatever reason, whether that is you're going to lose everything or you're going to die, or normally, it's both of those things anyway, eventually. So eventually you come to the desire and commitment to change. You've got to change, and that's when you need to seek help. And it's those stages, the first stages of recovery, the three stages of change, if you like. Finally, the commitment and the desire to change, which has to be 100%. It has to be strong and firm, the reason. And then you need to seek help, whatever that help may be. And this is where community and support comes in. Now, everyone's got different ideas, and this is a real hotbed, a hot topic, and I'll mention AA and CA and NA and smart recovery and all these things, which are absolutely, superb in their own way and suit a lot of people, and have been the bedrock of many people's recovery. But for myself, and we're all individuals, it doesn't suit me, although I use some of the elements of the 12 steps within my recovery recipe, if you like, and they're extremely important, and as this unfolds, these group of videos, you'll see that I've included some of the steps in there, although they may be worded slightly differently. If you look deeply within these videos, you'll see that some of the steps are there, and they are integral to recovery, some of them. It's just that some of the elements of AA don't actually, I don't actually do much for me, for my recovery, although I truly respect it and respect people that go through it, because as I said in the last video, anyone that goes into recovery and attempts any of this and to change themselves and to become a new person, in my mind, need true respect to you, because it takes a massive amount of strength and courage and commitment and self-discipline and consistency. In all these words, it does take all of this. So anyway, support. So that's that side of it, AA, and that's an important part of it. And some people gravitate towards that. Myself, I like to I have a good support system around. I'm lucky. I have a good support system around in my family that understand, and gradually becoming to understand more about my addiction, about my journey that I'm on now, and are always there at the end of a phone. Although don't live near me, apart from one member of the family who lives here in Spain. But my main contact is within several, probably half a dozen actually, groups, private groups on Facebook, and also via these videos. This is another form of connection for me, and I've put myself out here on these videos, and they're very cathartic for me, and I hope they're helpful for some people out there as well. And from a lot of the communication and email I get back, I'm glad to hear that some people do find them useful. And again, that strengthens my recovery, because that's giving service and trying to help other people. But the community and support that I find within the groups is really helpful to me. And I'll tell you why. I'll give you a little analogy about these groups and about support systems, whether it be AA, Smart Recovery, your own family, friends, or like I say, private groups, or whatever it is, whatever these support groups are. When you go into recovery, it's like walking on a tightrope, if you like, if I use that analogy, because it's quite dangerous up there, and you do wobble sometimes, and some people do fall off. But the thing is about support systems is that they are, I think, that safety net underneath that tightrope. That's just the analogy that I like to use. And that safety net's there to catch you if you do fall. And that gives you confidence, knowing that safety net's there, which makes you step surer on the tightrope, if you like. That strengthens your walk on the tightrope and gives you balance. And it gives you desire to keep going along that tightrope, if you like. And knowing that if you do wobble, there's something there to catch you, which strengthens you and stops you wobbling and helps you carry on along the tightrope. Or if you do fall off, and there's nothing wrong with, if people fall off every day, it could happen to me, it could happen to anyone any day, knowing that safety net's there to catch you and bounce you back up onto the tightrope again, if you like, with the support that it gives you. And that's why it's important to maintain that concept. And I don't think it matters whether you've got a day's sobriety, an hour's sobriety, or 10 years sobriety, or 20 years sobriety, and on and on and on. You're always going to need that support and that safety net underneath you, and knowing that it's there to give you that confidence and strength and support, because without it, it's a very lonely place to be in your head, and you can and it's dangerous. You need it. Trust me. Community and support is essential to sobriety, and that's all I want to say to that. You find it anywhere. Find this support anywhere. Find it on private groups. There are many online. Look them up on the internet, and you can be invited into these private groups, or any look on the web for any support group, such as AA, Smart Recovery, which is slightly different to AA. It's a more relaxed view than AA in some ways, but very, very good. Or CA or NA if it's narcotics, but they all maintain a 12-step program, those ones. So anyway, that's all I want to say on the support and community. And I just want to talk quickly about self-discipline and about something called the 5-second rule, because, as I say, self-discipline is uncomfortable, and the brain is programmed to do what's comfortable for it. Now, this is neurological research, which I first came to the attention of me through someone called Mel Robbins, and you can look her up. She's a fantastic motivational speaker and wrote a book on something called the 5-second rule, which I've talked about in my other videos. And the way to use this 5-second rule is basically to understand, first of all, that your brain is, like I say, programmed to make sure that you don't feel uncomfortable or don't go into an uncomfortable mode, whether that be physical, mental, spiritual, whatever it is. So basically, I'll give you an example. Getting out of bed in the morning, you're in a lovely warm snug environment, and the alarm goes off. So what your brain's telling you is to stay in the warm. It's lovely and comfortable, and that's where your brain wants you to be, because it's protecting you. So you'll hit the snooze button, basically. That's what the 5-second rule is. Neuroscientists have proved that if you want to accomplish anything uncomfortable, and this is really important in habit change, that you have 5 seconds to accomplish that before your brain will start to talk you out of it. Simple as that. So in other words, instead of hitting the snooze button, as soon as the alarm goes off, you need to jump straight out of bed and get on with your day. And that's just an analogy. Now that can apply to anything, whether it's something that's going to be good for you to eat, whether it's exercise and getting out there, whether it's facing emotions of some sort, or something that's mentally, physically, spiritually painful. You've got 5 seconds to go for that before your brain will start, because your brain will start to tumble 1,000 excuses in there, because it wants you to be comfortable, it wants you to be warm, it wants you to be safe, it doesn't want you to face your fears. So you've got 5 seconds, and you can count those in your head and just go for it. And I've found that's been really helpful, particularly with my self-discipline, because I say once you start doing that regular, these habits start to form, and behavior that becomes habitual, and you start making good choices through self-discipline and this 5-second rule. Then what was a bad habit before, bad behavior becomes good behavior becomes habitual behavior, and it doesn't become uncomfortable anymore. It just becomes a habit that you know is good for you and doing you good and making you positive. I just want to share something else with you. Every day I set myself little goals. Set yourself goals every day, and I have 3 goals that I maintain every single day, which is really good for my self-worth and boosting my self-esteem and self-worth. I like to create something every day, and what I mean by that, I mean sometimes it's these videos, sometimes I like to do some writing and journaling and blogging, and sometimes I like to do a bit of fictional writing. I like to draw. I like to garden. I like to create something every day. It's really important for your self-esteem and your self-worth to do that. Whatever that creation is, whatever your hobbies or interests are, push it towards that. I learn something every single day, and the YouTube is brilliant for learning. And I have a list of people now, whether it's spiritual learning, whether it's learning about diet and exercise, or the mind, the body, or life, or whatever that learning is. It's great. It expands, anything to expand your mind and get rid of junk out of it. Empty the trash. I mean, I was looking at something called the Peaceful Warrior, Dan Millman. Look at him. He says, empty the trash out of your mind. Empty the trash, and it's true. Put good stuff in there. So learn every day, and also either spreading positivity or trying to help someone every day. And whether that help is knocking on the door of an elderly neighbour and offering to do the shopping for them, or just smiling at someone, or spreading positivity or happiness in some way, or kindness or love, doesn't matter, small or large, tiny a thing, anything, or it's sending someone a bit of support, or phoning them up, giving them support or love, or whatever it is. So create, help, positivity, and learn those 3 things every day, little goals. And that's all I'm going to say. Don't forget, if you change the way that you look at things, the things you look at change, and everyone can change, and everyone is capable of it. Support is important. Keep that support and safety net underneath you at all times. And if you're in trouble, speak out and ask for help, before it becomes too big in your brain to deal with. Okay, and that's all from me now. Don't forget, seize the day, carpe diem. Don't forget, every day is an opportunity to seize the day. From the moment you open your eyes, apply the 5-second rule, jump out of bed and get on with your day and seize it. And hold on if you're struggling. That's my other message always, because it always gets better. It doesn't matter how bad things seem or are, it always gets better if you hold on. And that's my advice anyway, because it worked for me. Much love to you all. Till the next video. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.